Hi, I'm Kristen, registered dietitian and nutrition director here at Anchored Mind.
And I'm Michael Canner, licensed professional counselor and counseling director here at Anchored Mind.
And we are gathered here to do virtual date night number 2 tonight.
We will be discussing our differences in nature.
We started with a green salad that has celery and cucumbers and walnuts with a balsamic vinaigrette. Our main course dish is a smoky shrimp couscous. It starts out with sauteed onions and garlic, anchovies, tomatoes, roasted red peppers, and it is finished with a curled couscous and shrimp and some Italian parsley on top. And then our dessert is a bowl of blackberries and strawberries full of antioxidants and fiber and a little bit of sweetness to finish our meal tonight.
Let's start off with the difference between nature and nurture. Nature is the part of us that we cannot change. It is God-given, the why behind our personality. Using an analogy of a tree, it is our roots. You don't see it, but without the roots, there would be no tree. Nurture is more about how we grew up. So the influences from our family, the formation of our personality, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, all of that is our experiences and relationships that contribute to who we are. So nature we cannot change, and we must learn to accept. Nurture, we can change.
This has been really interesting to learn about for both of us and has helped our relationship a lot. We still had missing pieces, and learning more about our nature has been really informative.
Yeah. As we came together in a relationship, learned what it meant to be married, and really understood that there's this intersection of what she brings to the table and what I bring to the table. And we're essentially interlacing, having a lot of influence over who we're growing into, because we're always growing. But there are always going to be some fundamental differences. And those fundamental differences that don't change is our nature, otherwise known as our temperament.
I think learning more about temperament and which of our differences were actually by nature was really helpful for us, because it helped us accept each other and our differences and really lean in and learn to love those differences, because they're not changeable. They're part of who we are, and those differences are not just here to frustrate us or annoy us, or not that they're all frustrating, but we just, I think, learn to lean into them.
When we came across Kathleen Edelman's book, I Said This, You Heard That, it was a game changer for how we communicated with each other, but even more importantly, how we understood each other. So in the book, it touches on the 4 different types of temperaments. They are sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, and melancholic. And they're organized based on preference for extroversion versus introversion, and people orientation versus task orientation. And most of us gravitate towards one of these corners, so to speak. And that really helps us understand not only our strengths and weaknesses, similar to personality, but different because these things do not change. For us, it really helped us understand those innate needs, those things in us that we need to be the best versions of ourselves. And so here's a great sales pitch. How would you like to help your spouse be the best version of themselves? When we discovered that, wow, this stuff is actually really accurate to us. For example, I'm a melancholic. So when Kristen is able to give me some space and silence, that makes me the best version of myself. But this was not very easy at first.
No, not at all. It was hard at first, right?
I remember you getting pretty mad.
Really?
Well, I think you were hurt that it felt like I wanted to be away from you.
Yes, I felt a little rejected, I think. Yeah, I think when I found out that you needed more space and silence, that was hard for me. I'm extroverted and am used to people wanting to be around people a lot. Although I've found that I also need space and silence, I don't think I was acknowledging that part of me, and it was harder for me to even give that to you.
Yeah. Why should I get it if you can't get it?
Yeah. It was uncomfortable. For me, I started out in our marriage with a lower emotional intelligence. So gaining a little bit more emotional intelligence and then also learning about needs has been a big learning curve for me.
We essentially had a template for how to serve one another. I know she needs appreciation and credit for her work, being task-oriented and extroverted. She also values loyalty and helping support her having a sense of control. All those four things are just something that is never going to change in her. And when we learned this stuff, it was like she saw it and was like, yeah, that's me. She also has a little bit more complexity because we noticed there is a little bit of overlap. She also has a little bit of melancholic, which that's my dominant temperament. And it includes sensitivity, support, safety, and space and silence. So there's really no other magic to it. It's just we had to learn how to accept that in one another and support that in one another. Knowing and really trusting that not only are we going to get the best version of our spouse on the other side of these needs, but in fairness, to expect reciprocity. If she invests in mine, it's on me to invest back in hers and keep that positive cycle going.
And for me, understanding my needs and actually seeing them on paper and then putting those pieces together was really nice because I was then able to learn how to ask for what I needed and then actually get what I needed. And that was unique for me and a wonderful experience, but I really needed to kind of see words and be affirmed in some of those needs before I could accept them, I think, in myself. Because I'm uncomfortable with needing to have needs, I guess.
Different nurture.
Yeah, different nurture.
We really had to come together on that. There were definitely some things in me that I grew up with that I had to challenge and change because it kind of comes down to, do I want to choose my childhood or do I want to choose my marriage? It kind of felt like this. I had to practice, to be honest, a little bit more selflessness and compromise, and she had to practice more selfishness. I think maybe for one of the first times in your life, being such a high performer, high achiever, and she grew up as an athlete, and again being choleric and being extroverted and task oriented. I didn't like to have needs. I really didn't. I wanted to not need them, not have them, and I think you can do that for so long, but it did start to show up. We were married now, and there was no time to ourselves. We were in one home. It was kind of a relief because she's so impressive as a human to me that when she would hit a wall with capacity, I'm like, okay, so she is human. She does need rest and taking breaks. And so the other part of it, from an intimacy standpoint, it was really nice for her to depend on me a little bit, to rely on me, to ask me for help, because otherwise I think in her natural form she's so independent and self-reliant.
Yeah, and I didn't like that. I don't want to depend. I don't want to need anything from my partner. It's just not in me. It's just not the way I've been for a long time. So that was not fun, but I think I started to see such benefit from it. As a couple, we started to benefit. Emotional intimacy and learning to depend on each other and lean on each other it just enhanced our marriage, which was really nice. And of course, that's reinforcing for continuing to practice verbalizing needs and understanding them.
If I'm not considering how she's wired and I have little awareness of it, I'm going to listen to her in the way that I'm wired. And that does a disservice to her. And it eventually does one to me too. So one of the best things that we try and practice is, okay, she's speaking from a choleric perspective, or he's speaking from a melancholic perspective. And so she may say, he sounds stressed. What does he need?
Support.
Yeah, or sensitivity. Are you okay? Can I help anything? She's done such an amazing job at really leaning into that. And I think we're actually a little blessed too, because her being so task-oriented and one of my needs being support, when I feel stressed, it's like she just dives right into task and I feel really loved and respected.
And it's easier for me than some of the other stuff.
Yeah. But you've also worked really hard in the other areas.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm blown away.
I don't think we realized how much we were not hearing each other in the way that we were intending to communicate our needs. And he would, it's kind of felt really awkward and weird, but in the beginning he would ask me to, I guess, repeat back or say what I heard him say. And it was never what he was communicating. That's what we first found out. Yeah. And then we got better at trying to hear what the person was communicating instead of hear it through our own lens, which was really helpful.
Yeah.
And changed my listening skills for sure. And also helped me focus on what he was communicating and not just listening in kind of a selfish way, even though I wasn't intending to be.
Yeah, I think if most of us are honest, we're listening to respond instead of actually listening empathetically. Not to get overly spiritual here, but Ephesians 4 emphasizes using words to build others up according to their needs, so not necessarily our own. And that was huge for us to be aware of in our marriage.
And very foreign, I think, in the beginning. Just takes practice. It was hard.
Surely what makes me feel good makes you feel good, right?
That's what I thought, for sure.
Nope.
And I even didn't realize the judgment that I carried. It's unintentional, but towards someone else's needs that weren't the same as mine. I didn't realize it was there, and it really helped me become a more empathetic person, like learning and understanding my own needs, and then learning and loving his needs helped me lean into other relationships and other people around me, besides just our marriage. So, started here, but expanded.
So even those tough, choleric, task-oriented, extroverted wirings, they can be needy too.
They can be soft and needy too.
Everyone's needy.
We don't like to be, but we can be.
No. And on that note, when I discovered that I was a melancholic, I didn't want to admit, especially as a man, that I'm sensitive or that I need sensitivity. I noticed, and this was a shocker to me, whenever I'm the most selfish, it's when I'm neglecting my own needs or not asking for help. I trusted more that that's the nutrition that I needed for my soul. And then it was so much easier to move towards selflessness.
As a choleric, I found that I was less frustrated and not angry, but
I think you noticed less resentment.
Yes. Resentment's probably the right word.
Sometimes I had to not read her mind, but let's say in the space and distance and quietness, it required me to interpret something's wrong. Maybe there's something I screwed up or forgot, or she just has a need and she doesn't know how to ask right now.
Wasn't able to identify it.
Yeah.
That has helped. I think we have less of that. He doesn't have to read into the space and silence as much, because I think I can understand and see a little bit more what I need and communicate it a little bit better. It's still
a lot better.
A lot better, yeah.
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, because we know we're going to show up as the best versions of ourselves if we're invested in each other's needs. It really does prevent a lot of conflict. Conflict really is a difference of feelings and needs. It's typically a lack of communication that we run into, and we move through it so fast. But in the past,
I know, and I didn't like to communicate that much. I really wanted to just be understood, which sounds crazy, but I did. I just wanted him to know what I needed. It really took me understanding my own needs.
Yeah. If you asked me, do I want a version of you that has her need buckets filled, let me help, because you're so much brighter, peaceful, and carefree and patient.
Yeah. When I'm taking care of myself or letting you help me take care of myself, I'm a much more peaceful person. That's true.
Yeah.
I feel that, and I know you feel it too. And we have less conflict, which is proof. We have very little conflict now.
Yeah. So it really is true when we focus on speaking and listening according to the other person's unique needs in order to build them up. It works wonders. So let's talk about some examples of needs. My big one being space and silence to recharge. Obviously, I have to be really careful of that these days having 2 kids and 1 on the way. So my request for this time alone needs to be pretty strategic. I am naturally not a morning person. So one of the sacrifices that I've had to really work on is making sure I'm up at a decent hour to get that time in the morning, which is now incredibly sacred. Usually I spend that exercising, maybe doing some prayer time, listening to a podcast, something that feels actually recharging and honoring of that space and silence time, so that I can then dive right back into the day, be a good husband, a good father, and a good counselor.
I've gotten better at enjoying protecting that time for you because it benefits you so much too. Whereas before, I think it was uncomfortable for me, but
it was uncomfortable to ask.
Yeah, but it feels like a joyful thing now. Like I really know how much you need it and how much it benefits you. Yeah.
Cool.
I think when it comes to me, I think I didn't realize how much appreciation meant to me and how much it really refuels me and keeps me going. I love to do tasks. I love to serve. It really makes me very happy. But if I feel like I'm in any way not being appreciated or taken advantage of or something like that, I start to feel it's really hard for me. That's just a need that I have. And you've really picked up on that and leaned in and helped me in that way. And that's been nice. But I didn't realize how much I needed that.
Pro tip, if you're married to a choleric, just look for something they've done recently, try and remember it, and then next time you see them, say, wow, thank you so much for doing blankety blank. It will fill their tank. It's low-hanging fruit.
That's all I need. Yeah.
Pretty simple.
In the task world, that's all I need. I just keep going. Yeah.
So ever since we've learned about the temperaments and the differences in our nature, and countless stories of how we've integrated this into our marriage, we share it with as many people as we can. It comes up in my counseling work. It's present in a lot of our friendships and family. And so if you're curious about it, check out the website, or you can find the book on Amazon. And the assessment is actually built in to find out which temperament you are. So yeah, check out all the great work that Kathleen Edelman has done with this topic. It's very much helped our marriage and relationships around us, and countless clients I've worked with as well.
Thanks for joining us on another date night tonight.
If you'd like to continue this journey with us, feel free to subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram at Anchored Mind Care. And if we provide any value, we'd love to continue to help for what it's worth.